In the swirling mists of time, human beings have gazed toward the heavens and wondered, are the gods truly divine, or perhaps visitors from elsewhere? The latest season of Ancient Aliens, Season 21, offers a provocative lens on this question. At its core, this episode asks, what if the gods described in ancient texts were not metaphors or mythic archetypes but actual beings from another world? What if the sacred scrolls, tablets and legends of long-lost civilizations captured real encounters with extraterrestrial intelligences? From the outset, the narrative challenges conventional scholarship. Many ancient cultures used extraordinary language to describe the gods who descended, taught, ruled or aided humankind. In texts from Mesopotamia, Egypt, the Americas and beyond, these entities often appear with advanced knowledge, sky ships, beams of light, or cosmic journeys. The episode suggests that such descriptions may be more than poetic metaphor, they may be eyewitness accounts of visitors from far beyond Earth. Take for example ancient Egyptian texts. Gods who rise into the sky, light that blazes across the horizon, mysteries of creation that involve cosmic battles. The show points to this and speculates that what ancient peoples described as divine may have been technological. The gods were not immaterial spirits, but beings capable of immense power, just as a modern human would gaze in awe at a spaceship or a computer and describe it in the only terms they have: divine, magical, unstoppable. In this reading, the ancient astronaut hypothesis gains new force. In one segment, the program delves into mythic records which depict these gods leaving Earth, or returning to their realm beyond the stars. The implication is that if they came, they could also go, or return. The very possibility that ancient texts might describe such comings and goings reframes the familiar picture of gods as eternal, omnipresent, and stationary. Instead, we see dynamic foreign intelligences interacting with humanity. What if the scriptures and legends we studied so long considered purely symbolic are in fact records of real encounters? Another theme: ancient technologies and knowledge transfer. This knowledge of the heavens and earth may have derived from these god visitors. The gods taught astronomy, architecture, mathematics, agriculture, and governance. In the episode's logic, the sudden leaps in knowledge seen in early civilizations may reflect external intervention. Ancient texts often portray humans being guided, warned, or even modified by the gods. Could those be metaphorical? Possibly. But the show invites us to imagine a literal scenario: visitors from another world imparting knowledge and then leaving, followed by humans endeavoring to interpret or mythologize their message. The episode also explores narratives of divine battles, sky chariots, plagues, floods, celestial weapons, stories common across unrelated cultures. The repeated motifs spark the suggestion: shared cultural memory of otherworldly events. The idea is that widely separated societies might have witnessed the same phenomena, or been influenced by the same visiting intelligences, and encoded those experiences in myth. In this view, the ancient texts become a patchwork of testimonies, each describing the same general category of event: contact with beings beyond Earth. Of course, the skeptical voice is not entirely missing. Major scholars reject the ancient astronaut model as unproven, heavily speculative, and often reliant on fringe readings of texts and archaeology. The episode acknowledges this critique implicitly. These narratives are contested, evidence ambiguous, and many claims remain beyond solid verification. Nonetheless, it asks the viewer to entertain the possibility: what if the mainstream view is incomplete? Consider the motif of gods departing. Many ancient legends conclude with the gods leaving humanity behind, promising to return, or rising into the heavens from whence they came. In this framework, these could be the visitors' departure vehicles ascending, or the gods returning home. The texts, then, record the arrival and departure of extraterrestrials. The show uses such patterns to argue that ancient human-extraterrestrial interactions may be cyclical, not one-time aberrations. Equally important is the idea of reinterpretation: how ancient records may have degraded or been encoded in mythic form as centuries passed. The show posits that early human witnesses lacked the vocabulary to describe spacecraft, advanced beings, or alien machinery, thus they used metaphors of wings, fire, chariots of light. Over time, as generations passed, the story became myth. Thus the modern archaeologist reading a mythical account of a sky chariot could be decoding a memory of a landing craft. The episode leads us to reconsider the role of religion and myth in human history. What if religion's earliest impulses were not purely spiritual but were anchored in real contact? What if the gods were not wholly supernatural, but naturalized in their own realm, and only in hindsight became deified? This raises provocative questions. Did humanity's self-image change after contact? Did the visitors influence our social structures, our ceremonies, our ascendancy to civilization? Many ancient texts describe humans as children of the gods, or guided by them, perhaps in literal sense. It also considers continuities. If contact occurred in ancient times, might it still be ongoing? The show suggests that the legacy of ancient, God visitors, may still permeate Earth, in our myths, in our collective memory, perhaps even in modern UFO phenomena. In essence, the gods of old may be the aliens of now. However, as powerful as this narrative is, it also has limitations. The show typically presents tantalizing possibilities rather than conclusive proof. Ancient texts are open to many interpretations. Similar imagery across cultures does not automatically mean the same event, and attributing ancient engineering feats solely to extraterrestrials can downplay human ingenuity. The episode itself gestures toward this, indirectly acknowledging that alternative explanations, cultural diffusion, independent invention, symbolic metaphor, remain plausible. In its final analysis, the piece invites us to step outside orthodox frameworks. It encourages us, look at the ancient texts again. Read the lines describing gods who flew, who came from the stars, who gave machines, who left. Imagine them not as pure myth but as coded memory. What if our ancestors were eyewitnesses to something far grander than they could fully comprehend? The gods from another world may not simply be metaphor, they may have been visitors. In conclusion, this episode of Ancient Aliens challenges conventional history by suggesting ancient texts may contain hidden records of otherworldly gods. Whether one accepts that premise or not, the show succeeds in prompting a powerful question: are our myths the echoes of contact? If so, then humanity's story is far wider than we have imagined, one that extends beyond Earth, beyond our time, to the stars and back. For thousands of years, human civilizations have looked to the heavens for answers. From the temples of Egypt to the ziggurats of Mesopotamia, from the Mayan pyramids to the sacred mountains of Greece, one theme repeats: the gods came down from the sky. Season 21 of Ancient Aliens, in its episode, Ancient Texts Reveal Gods from Another World, pushes this notion further. What if these gods were not figments of mythology, but visitors from another world? The episode opens by revisiting some of humanity's oldest written records: the Sumerian cuneiform tablets, the Book of Enoch, and the Egyptian pyramid texts. In each, the gods are not abstract spirits but beings of power who arrive in fire, light, or thunder. The Sumerians called them the Anunnaki, divine figures said to have descended from the heavens to shape humanity itself. The episode speculates that these descriptions could be literal observations of extraterrestrial visitors, interpreted by ancient witnesses through the lens of their limited understanding. This idea, though controversial, has fascinated researchers for decades. The show's commentators point to linguistic clues. The term Anunnaki translates roughly to those who came from the sky. Similarly, in the Hebrew tradition, the Elohim, often translated simply as God, appears in plural form, suggesting multiple divine beings. Could this plurality reflect a group of advanced travelers rather than one all-powerful deity? The Egyptian texts add another layer. The gods of Egypt, Ra, Thoth, Osiris, are often depicted as beings who arrived from the heavens, bringing light, order, and knowledge. Ancient Aliens proposes that these figures could represent extraterrestrial teachers who accelerated human progress. The show highlights the Egyptians' sudden mastery of astronomy, architecture, and mathematics, fields that, according to mainstream archaeology, developed remarkably quickly. Could the precision of the Great Pyramid or the astronomical alignments of ancient temples be evidence of guidance from advanced beings? As the episode unfolds, it examines myths from other continents, reinforcing the idea of a global pattern. In the Popol Vuh of the Maya, sky gods called the heart of heaven descended to create humanity. In India's Vedic texts, flying machines called Vimanas carried gods through the air and unleashed weapons of terrifying power, descriptions eerily similar to aircraft and missiles. Across the Pacific, Polynesian traditions tell of luminous visitors from the stars who taught agriculture and navigation. The show argues that these parallel myths, spanning cultures separated by oceans, may not be coincidence but collective memory. The first half of the episode concludes by suggesting that these gods were likely extraterrestrials whose technology was so advanced that ancient humans interpreted it as divine. Their luminous craft became chariots of fire. Their helmets and breathing devices became divine faces. Their knowledge of astronomy and engineering became heavenly wisdom. Whether these beings genetically modified early humans, as the Anunnaki myths imply, or merely inspired civilizations to rise, remains speculative, but the idea reshapes the origins of religion itself. The gods, the show hints, may have been the first astronauts. Part 2. Messages, Departure, and the Legacy of the Star Beings. The second part of the episode delves deeper into what happened after these supposed encounters. If these beings visited Earth, where did they go, and what message did they leave behind? Many ancient texts speak of a time when the gods withdrew. The Book of Enoch tells of the Watchers, celestial beings who descended to teach humanity but were later banished for defying divine law. The Mayan codices speak of the gods departing with promises to return, in the Age of Renewal. Similarly, in the Egyptian story of Ra, the sun god retreats to the heavens after ruling on Earth. To ancient aliens, these parallels suggest not mythic endings but literal departures, visitors leaving our planet after completing a mission. The show's commentators then turn to the question of preserved knowledge. If extraterrestrial teachers once walked among us, perhaps they encoded messages for future generations, warnings, instructions, or cosmic truths. This interpretation reframes ancient scriptures as communication devices, not mere religious allegories. For example, the mathematical precision in the layout of Teotihuacan or the Giza Plateau may contain astronomical data pointing to specific star systems. Some researchers featured on the show even speculate that alignments with Orion or Sirius could mark the home worlds of these gods. Furthermore, the episode draws attention to recurring return prophecies, texts claiming the gods will come back. From the Hopi tales of the blue star Kachina, to the Christian Book of Revelation, from the Aztec Quetzalcoatl to the Hindu Kalki, many traditions speak of divine beings descending from the sky once again. Ancient Aliens interprets this as a possible prediction of renewed extraterrestrial contact, an idea that resonates deeply in an age of increased UFO sightings and declassified aerial phenomena. Still, the program doesn't ignore skepticism. Academic experts remind viewers that ancient symbolism was often metaphorical. The chariots of the gods could represent comets, meteors, or spiritual visions. Archaeologists caution against reading technological language into myth. But Ancient Aliens maintains that myth and history may not be so distinct. Myth, the show argues, can preserve memory in poetic form, memory of something astonishing that our ancestors witnessed but could not explain. The episode closes on a philosophical note. Whether one believes in extraterrestrial contact or not, the question itself changes our perspective on humanity. If the gods were visitors, then humanity is part of a larger cosmic narrative. Our myths, temples, and texts become fragments of an interstellar history, a story of contact, departure, and perhaps reunion. The ancients looked to the stars not merely with faith, but with memory. As the credits roll, the voiceover offers one last thought. If the ancient texts are true, then the gods never left. They're waiting for us to rediscover what our ancestors already knew, that we are not alone. In that final echo lies the enduring allure of Ancient Aliens. It doesn't demand belief, it demands wonder. The possibility that ancient texts preserve encounters with gods from another world is less a claim than a challenge, to look at our past not as myth, but as mystery.